Let me ask you something. With no fire, no heater, no source of warmth at all, how long could you last somewhere the wind keeps throwing freezing spray at you from every direction, and the temperature hovers near freezing? 5 minutes? 10? Now imagine being on a wooden ship in that exact same condition for days on end, sometimes weeks. There's no way to light a fire because on a wooden ship surrounded by rope and cloth sails, a single spark is enough to burn the whole thing down. No roof overhead, no device to warm your body. Modern science would tell you that in conditions like this, hypothermia can kill a person within a few hours. And yet the Vikings did exactly this, again and again, routinely, crossing thousands of miles across the most brutal stretches of the North Atlantic, from Iceland to Greenland, even all the way to North America. And somehow, they survived. So the question becomes, without fire, what exactly were the Vikings doing that modern science is only now confirming? Let's break down their real, ingenious survival strategies, one by one. Picture this. Your clothes are completely soaked through with seawater. You'd assume there's no warmth left at all, that freezing is now just a matter of time. But for the Vikings, this moment was completely normal, nothing to fear. And the secret behind that was hidden in a single material: wool. Wool has a strange, almost magical property that still surprises scientists today. Cotton loses nearly all its insulating power the instant it gets wet. But wool fibers trap tiny pockets of air even underwater, so a fully soaked wool blanket still holds on to body heat. On a ship constantly hit by freezing spray, this one fact alone was more effective than any fire could have been. Layered wool tunics, thick cloaks, and, for wealthier Vikings, animal hides on top of it all, together formed a nearly impenetrable defense. But while movement during the day generates heat one way or another, that option disappears at night. So what happened after dark, when the ship was still and the wind sharper than ever? This is where one of the Vikings' cleverest inventions comes in: the leather sleeping bag. These bags were made of leather, lined inside with wool or animal fur, and sometimes coated on the outside with animal fat to repel water. During the day, it doubled as a dry storage chest for their belongings. But once night fell, that same bag became a personal fortress. A sailor would climb inside, and their own body heat combined with the insulated lining created a warmth that eerily resembles the principle behind modern sleeping bags, without any fire at all. Still, wearing warm clothes alone wasn't enough. Out on an open deck, exposed directly to the wind, even the best wool eventually loses the battle. So how did they block the wind? The answer was hiding in their most important piece of equipment: the ship's sail. Whenever conditions allowed, the crew would stretch the massive sail over part of the deck like a makeshift tent. Huddled together underneath this shelter, they protected each other from the worst of the wind and sea spray. It wasn't a source of external warmth, but science tells us that stopping heat loss is just as important as generating heat, sometimes even more so. Now imagine that in this exact moment, the ship needs to push forward, rowing against the current. It sounds exhausting, but that very exertion was actually their secret weapon. Rowing a longship is such intense physical labor that the constant muscle movement itself generated real, usable heat. And during rest periods, they huddled together, under the same blanket or inside the sail tent, turning each other's body heat into an unspoken heating system. Even today, people in danger in the mountains or polar regions are given the same advice. Huddling together in a group loses heat far more slowly than being alone. But all of these strategies would collapse if the engine inside the body itself ran weak. The real fight to stay warm didn't start outside the body. It started within it. And that's where Viking diet became a matter of life and death. Their sea voyage food was high calorie and energy dense. Dried fish, salted meat, dairy products, and mead made with honey. The process of digesting food literally generates heat in the body, so a well-fed sailor was, quite literally, warmer than one with an empty stomach. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a hard-earned truth passed down through generations of people who survived at sea. And here's the most surprising, most unexpected strategy of all, one that has nothing to do with clothing, food, or shelter. It was a simple decision, knowing when not to go to sea. Most long Viking voyages happened between spring and early autumn, when the sea was relatively calm. Crossing open water in winter was rare, nearly always avoided. When the weather turned genuinely dangerous, the Vikings didn't try to prove their bravery. They simply called off the voyage. That bold, realistic decision not to fight a battle against nature that couldn't be won was, in its own way, their most effective weapon of all. Let's return to that first question. Without fire, without modern technology, how did the Vikings repeatedly cross some of the most dangerous, freezing waters on Earth? The answer is now clear. It wasn't one magical solution, but a precise combination of 6 small, intelligent decisions. Wool that still works wet, water-resistant sleeping bags, wind-blocking sail shelters, shared body heat, high-calorie food, and, most importantly, the wisdom to know when not to challenge the sea at all. And maybe that's where the deepest lesson lies. Fighting the cold head-on was never the real secret to survival. The real secret was understanding precisely, exactly how and through which paths heat escapes the body, and then, one by one, cleverly sealing off every single one of those paths.